Excellent. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Great to have you here. Thank you. A huge, massive thank you to David Senior Garcia and also to Laura Senior Garcia for last week. I watched back the session this morning. David, did you enjoy it?
Absolutely did, Mark. It was a privilege and a pleasure, and it was really enjoyable, especially because of everybody's contributions and sharing.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite questions that we ask as we go further into the eight essentials of intentional leadership, and you touched on it last week, is what do you need from me in order to be successful? And then also that mutual expectations of each other. You know, that rarely gets asked in environments. What do you need from me in order to be successful? Is a question that I think we could all ask more often and share more often with each other. So it was really great that you brought it up. And in the coming weeks, we're going to be looking more at trust, psychological safety, leadership, etc. And so yourself and Laura and Lewis will be more involved as well. But it was a great session. I watched it back this morning. I'm really grateful to you, David. So thank you and to Laura. And that mutual expectations is very important. So, greetings from myself and Lewis. We are back from Scotland. We were in a very cold St Andrews and Aberdeen for about a week. Lewis, would you like to share a couple of reflections?
Yeah, I love the sun. No, it was a really great week. I was just talking to Paul earlier on this morning. It was very enlightening to meet people in that decommissioning world, which I thought was excellent. And I have to give you full credit, Mark. I think that you adapted very quickly to to an industry that you're not very familiar with. And one of my things to on my list today is to send you a list of the acronyms, of which there are many.
We're going to P&A. We're going to plug and abandon those wells.
There
Absolutely.
you go. There you go.
But it was a great week in Scotland, and yeah, I learned a lot, and I also met a lot of people, and we've got some tremendous leads and great people that really want to take on board what we've done. And kudos to Lewis for 50 years or more in the oil and gas business, but also seeing platforms be installed and now be decommissioned. I think is a great lifetime's work, and we will be doing a lot more in that space. And so many people love and respect Lewis for what he's done over the years. I feel that that's something that we can all learn from in a really positive way. So it's great to see you all. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to share screen again shortly, in just a moment. I want to say hi to Fred. It's 1 a.m. where Fred is. So hi, Fred. Good night. Good morning. It's great to have you here. I'm going to share screen in a moment. I'm going to share some slides. We're going to have a chat. Lewis is going to share. Please, of course, manage your microphones if you would as well as we go through. If you want to speak up, please do speak up and share. If you want to use your chat box, please do, apart from Duncan, who's clearly driving. So don't use the chat box, Duncan. But apart from that, we are all good and ready to go. So if I share the screen here and I put this over here and we play from the start. Right, welcome along to week number 6. I hope you're all getting lots of value from these sessions. I know watching them back for many people is a real positive. We've got over 200 people already signed up for these sessions to either watch back or be involved in. So that's really great news. It's fantastic to share this message and this information with people. So today we are going to focus on how to create and keep an ongoing positive mental attitude. Not always easy in my experience, for my own personal experience, but also for many people that I coach and work with. It's a real commitment. It's a real commitment to get there. And you can't really force it. There's a whole thing around universal laws about force negates. And if you try and force something, it will make it negative. So it's not about trying to force yourself to be positive. It's actually about, first of all, understanding self and then working through strengths, potential limiters that we use in e-colors. And then, you could use therapy, you could use coaching, you could any tools at your disposal to start to clear away some of the negative belief systems, or indeed the things that you've been have been embedded into your subconscious, largely by other people. And you can start to reprogram yourself and reboot yourself, which is very important. So please use the chat box as well. I can see Fred in there saying happy holidays. Fantastic. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. to everyone in the US who is either here live or watching us back. Do rename yourself. If you know your e-colors, do rename yourself. Put your, mine's Y/R, yellow red, after my name. Manage your microphones, please. Webcams on if you can. And then headphones, use the chat box, and then contribute your thoughts, feelings, and ideas, because they're so important for all of us to hear when you have something important to share. Once again, I said thank you, but I want to say thank you again to David and to Laura for last week, and also say that you can watch these back. These sessions can be watched back on YouTube and on demand. They're there for you. They're on my YouTube. We will be updating them and making sure they're all on the Equilibria YouTube as well. But ultimately, it was a great session, and there was a lot to be learned, and it was really interesting for me to listen to a top color blue presenter in David and a top color red presenter in Laura, and share their experiences. So that was really great. So again, thank you. You'll be hearing a lot more from them and all of us throughout the series. Today, as I said, week number 6. Time flies when you're having fun. We're going to create and keep that ongoing positive mental attitude at all times, with the big smiley face that became popular back in the house music days. So you know a bit about myself. This is my strengths and my potential limiters. I'm a very high yellow socializer, love to talk, love to be engaged in lots of different ideas and projects and things that are going on. What I do find, and I said this to Lewis actually, what I do find, that big 40% yellow can sometimes, I can run out of energy in that area. And Emma sees that more than most when I have to go to bed really early and just try and find a way to relax, because I put so much energy into people and what I'm doing that sometimes I do sort of hit that barrier and I need to rest. But we all have these things. It's important to understand them. Very optimistic, big picture, energetic, and indeed talkative. But I can be over talkative, clearly. This demo will tell you that I can be disorganized, and that's still an ongoing struggle that I work with daily. None of this stuff is just click your fingers and be fixed. It's very important that we realize this is an ongoing journey. Don't just say it's done. It continues, and we must manage ourselves. So I've been working through lots of things here about the attitude of gratitude, your e-colors, belief and confidence. We touched on purpose, vision, and goals, and the importance of that to keep you on track. Looking at positive mental attitude, and in the coming weeks, lots and lots and lots of leadership and teamwork material that we will all be collaborating on. And then towards the end of the series, and certainly into the new year, looking at a lot more at money and growth, and ensuring that we get positive, successful results. So having a positive mental attitude is not about ignoring difficulties or being overly optimistic. I heard someone once, a little while ago, that there was a whole thing that was being spoken about toxic positivity. And it did make me smile, but I got it. I understood what people were trying to say. Because if a life coach or some speaker comes up and says, be positive, just be positive, it doesn't work that way with people. Yeah, you can do it. You must make a choice to move towards that. But many people are struggling with lots of things in their subconscious mind that they need to work through first. You can't just turn up and be overly optimistic. You can't just tell people to get over it and stuff like that. It doesn't work that way. My journey started like 20 years ago with therapy. I had therapy for 2 or 3 years, and then I got into being coached by Bob Proctor. Then I discovered e-colors, and the journey continues. But that thing about just telling people that they need to just get over it, ignore difficulties and stuff like that, that's not what this is about at all. It's about making sure that we understand that we can become successful by steadily growing ourselves as individuals. It is about maintaining that mindset that empowers you to navigate challenges, keeping your eyes on long-term success. If you think about purpose is the long-term success, the end goal. I was always taught when I got into working with coaches, begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. I look at people like Lewis, I look at people like Bob Proctor, I look at people that are successful and happy and doing what they're doing. That's me looking ahead. 20, 30, however many years ahead, for me to have that long-term success. You can do the same. You can choose to do the same. It will help you if you're able to look even towards the end of your life and actually think, okay, how am I going to navigate these challenges and make sure that I'm successful in my long-term goal, my long-term purpose? If you can cultivate a mindset that focuses on opportunities rather than obstacles, and then solutions rather than problems, you are going to start to have a more positive impact on yourself to start with, and then on everyone else around you, because like ripples in a pond, it radiates out from you. So even if you've got a big challenge, even if there's something that's in the way, you can think about this in a different way. You can reframe it and say, right, this is an opportunity. What can I do here? And then what would be the solutions to come up with? There's a whole piece around, I think it was average minds discuss people. Good minds discuss events, but great minds discuss ideas. And that's the key, right? We want to be discussing ideas, solutions, ideas. Where can we go? What can we make happen? Finding those opportunities is very, very important. It is not about pretending that everything is perfect, right? It's about choosing to see the potential for growth in every situation. Duncan's back in the house. Hi, Duncan. It's not about pretending that everything is great, because there's challenges. Of course, there is. We need to overcome challenges. But if we can see the potential for growth, we have the opportunity to really achieve something with our purpose, our vision, and goals. Someone else who I met at the conference in Scotland last week at the Decommissioning Energy Conference, they commented on this, and I decided to grab it. It was a guy called John, fantastic guy, I met through Lewis. He said, challenges in life are guaranteed. Misery is optional. And I just thought that was a really, really great comment. There's going to be challenges along the way. Any challenge you're facing right now, it can and will be overcome. It can be released. You can work through it. But the misery piece is the optional piece. If you keep smiling, I do remember Bob Proctor telling me many, many years ago that he had one similar incident to myself where he lost everything materially, and he went into a real sort of depression and shut the curtains for a few weeks and didn't leave the house and was really, really, really low. He also said that it happened to him again some years later, but the second time it happened, he just shrugged it off and said, okay, well, that's gone wrong, but I'll shrug it off and I'll go again. So we learn, don't we? We learn. But the misery is the optional piece. We don't need to be there. We don't have to choose to do that. Because it's all very well for someone to say to you, think positive. Yeah, of course, thinking positive is the goal. Yeah, it's the absolute goal, to be completely released from any negativity. And let's think about the world, right? There is negativity everywhere. Yeah, it's pumped into our houses by the TV stations. If we choose to have that screen on the wall that's just showing us all the terrible things that are happening in the world, we are letting lots and lots of negativity into our lives. If we choose not to engage with it, or at least have a break from it, so that we can reset our emotional state, we'll be in a much, much better place. But when you can think positive, you're going to be strong, determined, encouraged, happy, motivated, enterprising, imaginative, and optimistic. Wouldn't that be great for all of us? And that is the key. It's like going to the gym. Your mind, there's two ways I want you to think of your mind, whichever one suits you best. One is, it's like a gym, and you go to the gym mentally to keep working and building that muscle so your muscles get big and strong, and then you're able to deal with anything in the world. That's one way of thinking of your mind. Another way is to think of your mind as a garden, whichever suits you best. But the garden piece would be that certain weeds might have taken place, negative emotions. Certain weeds might have taken place or taken root in your mind, in your garden, and they have to be weeded out. And that's where therapy and or coaching can come in. Just reading, studying, immerse yourself in the right information. Once you get that onto a roll, you can start to take some of those weeds out of your subconscious mind, and then you start to become more positive. But it has to become. You can't just click your fingers on this one. I've shown you this slide before, but it's so important. We must talk about it. And at the same time, I'm just going to launch a little poll here that says, are you naturally optimistic or pessimistic? And there's no right or wrong answer, by the way. It's totally fine to be either. And I think pretty sure it's all anonymous, so that's all good. But feel free to put that in there and tell us how you feel. But I want you to understand here, I want you to understand about your conscious and your subconscious mind. If I asked you your first memory, so the first thing you can remember, what age would you be? You can use your chat
3 years.
box. Or who's that?
Yeah, 3 years old.
3 years old. Is that Fred?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Fred. How are you, mate? It's nice to see you.
Good. Likewise, Mark.
Um, 3 years old. Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. I was 4. My first memory is 4 years old. And I imagine most people would be 3, 4. Yeah, Martin's saying 4 there as well. Most people around 3 or 4 years of age is our first memory. And so with our first memory, that's when we start to live in our conscious mind. We start to be in our conscious mind because we have a memory. It's something we can remember. However, we don't really start making decisions, like conscious decisions about ourselves until we become maybe, 10, 12, maybe even 15 into becoming teenagers and stuff like that. We don't start to make our own conscious decisions, really. Okay. So even though we have a memory, we're not really making massive conscious decisions until we get a little bit older. What that means is that the subconscious mind, I hope you can all see my mouse, but the subconscious mind here has been programmed. It's been basically been wide open. So this conscious piece, if you like, has been flipped up out of the way, and the subconscious mind has been wide open. You've been like a little sponge from your young age as you've been born and brought into this world, and you've picked up the beliefs of those people around you. You've picked up these things from people around you, the beliefs, I'm not good with money, or there's not enough money in the world, or life is difficult, or challenges are really tough, and I can't, necessarily deal with certain things. And I heard Laura touch on that last week, actually, when she was saying about, whatever our inner dialogue is what we tend to experience. But a lot of that will come from the subconscious mind from when we were children. And if we've had a lot of these worries and doubts and fears, and we've inherited them from other people, and they've been plugged into, or the roots have taken hold of the weeds into our subconscious mind, they can stay there and they can really take root. And many people live there, and they're bouncing around in this area of fear, anxiety, worry, doubt. And some people start taking medication to suppress, or even drink or whatever. They start to suppress these things, drinking alcohol, etc. And that can lead to depression and disease. And people don't even realize what's necessarily going on. The clear piece here is for us to become consciously aware of our beliefs, asking questions in our conscious mind. Where's that belief come from? And is that actually correct? And if it's not correct and it's not how I want to live, then I'm going to change it. And how do I change it? Well, I change it by changing my thought, my belief. Start with the thought, I am great with money. I'm going to let you know, as a yellow, blue, e-color, before COVID, I was the most nervous potential public speaker in the world. I was so nervous. And after COVID, once my book came out, I'd done some work. I did some work online. And then I stood up in front of 150 people and spoke for 8 hours. And I keep doing that. And I keep doing it. And yes, I do get still a little bit nervous at those moments. That's okay, because that's still in my subconscious, in my high blue percentage. Certainly, I have those challenges there. But in my conscious mind, I have said to myself consistently for the last 7 years or so, I'm a great public speaker. I am a great public speaker. I am, and it goes round in my head over and over. It's like a little mantra, a little affirmation, and it's great. But I have reprogrammed here, and by reprogramming here, I then start to feel differently, because you get knowledge, you get understanding, you have faith and belief in yourself, and then you get well-being. And then standing up in front of a group of, 150 people, or indeed DJing when I was younger to thousands, is an expression, and therefore you feel at ease. So I can see the optimistic versus pessimistic poll here. 80-20 for the optimist. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. It's really great. There we go. Oh, there's the results. We can share them. So that's great. Look, at the end of the day, 80% optimistic, 20% pessimistic. I think ultimately that's quite a nice balance, because if I look in my house, I'm the optimistic person, and sometimes Emma can be the pessimistic person. Is one of those votes you, Emma? She muted. She might be muted. One of those votes could well be Emma. But actually, it's about balance, isn't it? You know, if you think about a battery has a positive end and a negative end in order to get the balance, get the equilibrium right. So very important to make sure that we all understand one another and make room for each other, make space for each other, and help and assist each other. I don't force my positivity upon Emma, but we do talk about it, and I do listen to her worries, her concerns, and we talk it through. It gets balanced. So that's such an important thing. One of those votes is not me, says Emma. Brilliant. So, look, when you approach life with a positive mental attitude, you will build resilience. It takes time, energy, commitment, effort, but are you willing to do it? And if you are willing to do it, you will get the results that you want to get. But again, you know, it's not going to happen. You know, you might be sitting there at 20 or 30 years of age and thinking, well, how it's going to be difficult. Yeah, of course it is. But by the time you're 30, 40, 50, you could have done it and actually be living in a positive mental attitude and a great environment at all times. If you're feeling stuck or if you're in a tough moment, you're able to adapt and pivot and continue moving forward with that resilience. It gives you another, it's like a superpower. It gives you another opportunity. Over time, the mindset becomes a habit. And I wrote habit in big capital letters on my notes for this morning. Habit. That's what coaching helps you do. Coaching helps you become and develop successful habits. And once you develop successful habits, you start to get personal and professional growth. Adapt and succeed, Fred. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Understand as well that you're not affected by what happens around you, but your reaction and response to it. And remember, the react versus respond model in Equilibria and e-colors is very important. We react from our personality, we respond from our character. You know, we react from our conscious thoughts, our habits, but we can respond from our emotions and get really positive results. Again, it takes time to build. I have got a great coaching client who's green over red. And she said to me, I know all this, knowledgeable. You know, she's a green, so she's got lots of knowledge. She said, I know all this, Mark, but she said, my emotions haven't caught up yet. And that is a great analogy because we might logically know something, but if the emotions are not in tune with the thoughts, so the thoughts and the feelings must be aligned before the action will actually take place. So when people tell me in coaching, I know this, but I don't see them take the action, then they haven't aligned the thoughts and the feelings in order to take the action. Sounds simple, but it is complex, of course. So why it's so important? Okay, it directly impacts your overall well-being, your productivity, your creativeness, your relationships. You're more likely to stay motivated even when things get tough once you've created a positive mental attitude. You can solve problems with that creativity and flexibility. Dust yourself off and go again. You cultivate stronger and more supportive relationship. You attract the right people to you. Now, I can absolutely put my hands up for that because I used to attract the wrong kind of people when I was 20 and the right kind of people since I've sort of turned 40. You can reduce your stress levels and improve your mental clarity once you align your thoughts and feelings. Okay, it's very important. Fred, I love that. Those can't be told, must be shown. Yeah, absolutely. And actually, you make a great point there, Fred, as well. Thank you for using the chat box. I say to my coaching clients a lot, don't go around telling people, you know, tell people to do this, tell people to do that. It doesn't always work, right? In fact, sometimes it can be forceful and people, you know, turn against that. Show them. Stand up, be counted, show people the differences is very important. And then see in action the opportunities that you might otherwise overlook. Being able to see opportunities and then take the action. If you're caught up in a negative mindset, you won't see them. People used to say, oh, I live in a world of opportunities. And I'd be like, well, I don't understand because I don't see any of these opportunities. And then it came to me and I was like, okay, so I need to clarify and clear my mind and be more positive and do all that great work, which took many years. But actually, now all I see is opportunities. Everywhere I go, there's opportunities. We saw many last week, Lewis and I in Scotland. In the long run, positive mental attitude becomes the foundation of the success that you want in your life. And it fuels determination and helps you stay focused on those goals, your purpose, your vision, your goals. It's the fuel that gets you there. It's very important. You wouldn't try and run your car on an empty tank, hopefully. You know, you need You need it working. You need the fuel in there, and the foundation is the positive mental attitude. And that's why I do 12 months to remix your life coaching with people, because that's how long it takes, I believe, to make a change as a start point. Sometimes it takes longer, but actually, that 12 months is a really great start point. Self-awareness and your e-colors and your premium report is vitally important for your start point to success. Understanding this quadrant, understanding the area that you focus on with ease, and the focus, or the area where you can focus on to improve yourself. Understand yourself. Read your e-colors premium report. Go and get it off the Equilibria website. Best $50 you'll ever spend. $40 if you use Life Remixed Premium. Are you likely to get caught in the negatives, or caught up in what's not going right at times? And the key point here is very much understanding the concepts of the e-colors and all the work that's gone in behind it, including understanding what you focus on first, what and when, who, how, why. Very important on the different e-color quadrants. It's a fantastic tool. And I highly recommend that you continue to grow and understand your importance of it. Lewis, if you would just unmute for a moment, I would like to just talk a little bit. When you spoke to me some time ago, and it really stuck with me, about people being happy and having a positive mental attitude when they are living in their strengths.
Yeah, I think what we were talking about, if people are happy at work and in their life, they're probably satisfying their e-colors. And typically we all tend to operate from our strengths and then be aware of managing our potential limiters for sure. I think when you talk to people who are, they're not happy, it's because their e-colors are not being satisfied.
Certainly. And have you got personal examples of that? I mean, I have one myself, but have you got any personal examples of that? Or anything that when you've been coaching people, when you see that, how do you deal with it?
Yeah, I think that, well, actually, last night I was on the call with somebody I used to coach her husband, actually, and now she wants to get involved. He's predominantly very green red.
Mm.
And so all of those strengths were very much part of his makeup. But what he wasn't very strong was more around the kind of personal interaction with people. He went on to work on his on what you might call the yellow blue side of him with great success. So again, it naturally very much the perfectionist, accurate, persistent, etc. But once he got the idea of using the colors to his advantage, I think very much like um, Rob Wallace told us last week. I don't know if anybody saw my post, but I thought it was really good. He said, managing yourself or managing a team without knowing your e-color is like driving a car without GPS, which I thought was a really nice way to put it.
Yeah, it's very good, and a great meeting with Rob as well. Thank you, Lewis. From my experience, I've worked in as a yellow red, almost yellow blue, with my strengths that you can see on the screen. 40% yellow, so everything everything in that box is relevant to me. Red, slightly less. There's a few in there. Blue, slightly less. There's a few in there, and only one word: persistent in the green for me. I've worked in roles, certainly in UK health and safety over the years, where they need me and want me to be in that green. They want me to be creating statistics, creating spreadsheets, being accurate and analytical. It's just not my strength. And I did my best, and I could get there with my 9% green. I could get there, but actually found myself quite unhappy and quite stressed as well. So I think that was a really great observation for myself to learn. And what I do today satisfies my yellow red / yellow blue self completely, and I'm really happy. So therefore, there's a real learning in there, I hope, for everybody, that you certainly look at this and look at the strengths and potential limiters, because if we are, in our strengths, we are going to be a lot happier at times. However, no matter what we do, there is always going to be those challenges that I said. The misery piece is optional, but the challenges are there. If I look at the yellow potential limiters for myself, and you must look at your own, the disorganized one, the sometimes undisciplined, and the sometimes overly talkative, those things can still come up. And I must manage them, and I choose to manage them because it helps me become more successful, a more positive mental attitude. But when you can understand the e-colors of everyone else around you, that becomes a real game changer, because you can see when those people are in their strengths and doing something great, and you can also see when those people are in their potential limiters. And it's a great discussion to have with your loved ones, or indeed people you work with, when you observe someone going into their potential limiters, and you can actually flag that up to them in a really nice, gentle coaching way, that they become self-aware, which is really important. Because if we can reframe challenges as opportunities, it's an absolute game changer for life. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You could ask, what can I learn from this? Or how can this make me stronger? Um, I'm going to go to Heather in the chat box there. In terms of potential limiters, do we just look at dominant colors or both? I would say both of your top two, Heather. And in fact, if I go back to the potential limiters just for a moment, depending on your percentages, Heather, so I can't remember all of your percentages, but as a red over green, you would look at the red, certainly, and the green for sure. But if you've got a high third percentage also as well, or even a high fourth percentage, which I have seen some people be almost 25% of everything, you can look at each of these and understand where your potential limiters and where our vulnerabilities are. So it's an important lesson. You look at the top two, because most people lead with the top two. But when you have your percentages, and if you want a separate session with me, Heather, I'm more than happy to take you through that separately, one-to-one, for us to have a chat about it as well. So what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? Is really, really key. Okay. The shift in perspective helps you stay optimistic and action orientated, even when things don't go to your plan or go as planned. Okay. Reframe those challenges. And the other bit I want to add to this as well is a very important mantra. The second piece I've put there: life is happening for me, not to me. Okay. Now, some people are like, oh, what's that about? What are you talking about? Okay, fine. Most people will talk about, oh, this happened, that happened. I've got to go there, here. I have to do this. No, 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 no. It's happening for you. You are choosing to do something. No, but I have to do it. No, you don't. You're choosing, or you've chosen, and you can always make other choices. But life is happening for you. So if your emotions are being triggered by someone, or your potential limiters are coming up and you're being triggered, someone, something, some situation, it's happening for you so you can learn to be better. So you can live in your strengths rather than be in your potential limiters, and you can grow from the situation. So if there is a challenge, you can start to really embrace that. It's happening for you, not to you. Fred, did you put your hand up?
Yeah, I did, Mark. I think this is a good point to segue something that came to my mind earlier on. So we use here at our company, we use this word positive intent. And many times, intentionally, I can see there's nothing positive about it, but we say it as cliche. But today, in 54 years of living, to context of your framing, I got the mindset today, because I'm very much in The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, The Matrix. I learned today that the villain is more for our progress than our downfall.
Spot on. Yeah.
The kryptonite that comes against us, only if we would look at the mirror of it and use it. It's like Darth Vader said to Luke. He said, your faith makes me upset. Your lack of faith in the now Yoda would have never said that to him. Obi Kenobi would have never said those things to him to challenge, to pull the best out of him. And so today I've learned that the opposition that I face in my company is really because the real me has to come to the table, and I cannot shy to the trauma of my childhood, because the trauma told me, shut up.
Yeah.
But now I'm learning now of kind of the when and how to speak up.
I want to say, Fred, I want to say brilliant. I also want to say use the force. Yeah, for sure. You're talking to a Star Wars fan, and absolutely brilliant. Yeah, these things are happening for us in order that we grow. And one of the big things, I sort of going off piece slightly, but some people only get these realizations on their rocking chair, or maybe even on their deathbed, shall we say. Some people have these enlightenment moments and they go, oh, I could have done it differently. And actually, the key point is actually learning, earlier, learning in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever age it might be, that actually we can do it differently and we can choose to do it differently. And rather than being, I liken it to like a cork on the ocean. Rather than being a cork on the ocean, just sort of bouncing around and being knocked around by life and people and situations, we can actually, get in our boat with a rudder and a compass, and we can, with our purpose, vision, goals, and we can choose what we want to achieve by focusing on it and getting it done. And the e-colors opens the door, and then we continue for our journey. But all of this, Fred, as you rightly say, is using the great things and the negative things that we perceive as negative for growth, because it's happening for us, not to us. And that actually, when you think about that, it's a powerful statement. It's a very powerful statement. Life's happening for me. Even this challenge, even this thing that's happened to me that I didn't choose, or whatever it might be. Why is it happening for me? Okay, what can I do from this? How can I grow from it, etc.? And brilliant observation, Fred, and thank you for sharing it. Practicing that gratitude is very, very important. Shifting negative thoughts into positive ones. You must choose if you want to. My choice was when I was on the floor, unable to walk, and then the pain of the following 18 months. My choice was to reprogram myself. And when Bob Proctor started to show me this information, I started to understand it. And I was hungry, I was inspired, I was also desperate, and I was like, I need to learn something new. And all of that happens has led me to being this guy, reprogramming myself, training myself, and shifting from negative thoughts, younger thoughts, into positive ones. Marie, you got your hand up. Hi, Marie.
Hello.
Right.
I was just going to share. I've been debating whether to share this or not, because I don't often share this. But so back in 2016, I had a brain tumor, and walking down to that operating theatre, not knowing if I was going to come out and it was all going to be okay, or if I was going to come out and there'd be problems, or not come out at all. At that time, and it just, your previous slide really resonated with me, because at that time, I lived to work. I was a workaholic. Everything I did was work. And coming out of that operation and having the opportunity to do life differently, that piece about how can this make me stronger was my choice. Yeah. I came out of that thinking, I need to make changes to my life. I don't want to live to work. I want to work to live. And unfortunately, I suffered from severe depression and anxiety after that operation. I didn't cope with being told about the brain tumor and everything else. So I had 7 months off work. And I really used that as an opportunity to look at what was happening, where I was, what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it. And I made a promise to myself and my family that I would be me again, because I'd become this person that I didn't like, that I put work in front of everything else. And that really wasn't me. And I just got caught up in the whole corporate, mantra of you must do everything, you must be available at all times and everything else. So, that was 2017 when I made that change. And during my time off work, I had a senior manager, he was actually the chief exec of the company I worked for, tell me that he couldn't trust a senior member of his team who'd been to the funny farm. And that really hurt, because, okay, my mind was broken, my mind wasn't functioning as it should be, but I was still a person. And that really pushed me into making sure that, I focused on well-being. I did my master's in occupational health, in health and well-being at work. I became a mental health first aider. I really wanted to understand how I could make a difference to others and not allow them to go through what I'd been through in the workplace. So this whole thing about opportunities, if I'd have allowed myself to think this has been done to me and I'm never going to recover, and this is, life is going to be different, I had to make that choice in what I wanted to do. And I chose that second one of how can I make me stronger? How can I use this as an opportunity? And during those 7 months off work, I've still got it upstairs. This was 2016, bear in mind.
Mhm.
I've got a sweet jar, a big sweet jar upstairs. And every day I wrote something that I was grateful for on a piece of paper, and I put it in that jar. And even now I still have it. And every now and then I dip back in and I pull one out and I just look at what I was grateful for at that time. And I'll never get rid of that jar, because it's a reminder that even though I was going through what I was going through, I still had things to be grateful for. And that was what drove me to become the person I should be, the person I am, rather than this corporate person that had suddenly taken hold of me and put me into a place I really didn't want to be.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful, Marie. What an amazing share. The chat box is alive for you. Can I make a couple of observations, Marie? The first one is that you shared that story with myself and Emma some time ago, probably back in the summer, I believe, and we were both wowed by it. We just sat there, just listening to you, and we were amazed by your resilience and the way that you'd come through that. I think it's fair to say now that you are the UK safety director for a large UK company with 6,000 staff, or approximately. Certainly, a leader. You're also a great supporter of the e-colours, and you understand a lot with your blue yellow tendencies. Becoming an e-colours practitioner, actually, with us in the company, etc. But also, the beauty of your blue yellow tendencies is that you started off with that piece there by saying, I've been thinking a lot about whether to share this, because and now that you feel comfortable, you've opened up and you've shared that piece, and so many people are making lovely comments there, Marie. I hope you read them all and you take on board how powerful that share that you just made really, really is. Would you like to add anything else, or should I continue? Because it's beautiful, Marie, what you said.
No, that I think that it's just that reframe challenges as opportunities. That is the big thing. We have a choice in life. We can do something, or we can't do something, or we don't want to do something. And I think just don't get caught up in the treadmill of life. Make those choices and do what's right for you.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more. And Emma makes a great question, because as a top color green, Emma likes to ask lots of questions. Emma makes a great question, and this is probably something for yourself, myself, Lewis, and other people on the call to think about. But why does it take such a big life event for us to make new promises for ourselves? Now, we don't need to answer that immediately, but it is a fantastic observation. And I think I know Lewis is going to share something in a few slides' time as well. But I've had a major life event. Marie, that was a major life event for you. Lewis had a major life event. These are things that happen, but they help us. When I'm going back to Fred's point, we get to that point where it's almost like, I want to call it like an awakening. I want to call it something where your mind opens and you just go, oh, I could do this so differently. And in many ways, when I had my collapse in Life Remixed, a coach, an early mentor and coach of mine said to me, this is actually a great opportunity. I was in absolute pain and agony, couldn't walk. And he said, this is a great opportunity for you, Mark. This is going to, you're going to be able to change and grow. And I couldn't really hear him at the time, but he was right. And you sharing what you just shared it proves it. Lewis, what he shared, prove it. Each of us, and my goal is for other people maybe not to have these huge life events and actually be able to still make the changes, so they don't wait to their rocking chair or beyond to have these sort of quote unquote awakenings, right? So
that was what I was just about to say, is that now when I talk to people, I use my experience to say, don't wait until you have that, am I going to survive or not moment, or, it's knocked you completely down moment. We all have a choice, no matter what happens in our life. And I think sometimes people can be a bit scared of what the consequences or the outcome is, and they go with the wrong decision. we as people, we humans, our gut will tell us what the right thing is. So just be brave and make those choices.
I think you make a great point, and I would like Duncan. Are you able to unmute? Because Duncan, you make a really, really good point there, where you say because we test things to breaking point, and then say, well, I'm not doing that again. That's a really great point, Duncan. Do you want to share something around that? Thank you, Marie, as well.
Yeah,
Great.
sure. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, what I find is my work in the stress and well-being field is that we all think we're invincible, don't we? We all think we're going to live forever. We're not going to get ill and stuff like that. But people do think that I'm mindful of the comment earlier. I think it's from Fred, which is what was it? Those who can't be told must be shown, and that's really, really true. Is that people tend to think it won't happen to me, or I can keep going, or they get used to really pressured times being normal when it's absolutely not. If you transported somebody else into your body, they'll probably go, "What are you doing?" And what we tend to do is we find the breaking point, operate really close to it, and then when we do have some kind of collapse, whether it's mental, physical, or emotional, it's then we go, yeah, I'm not a machine. And yeah, that clever people learn before. Well, wise people learn before. Clever people learn from it, but most of us just keep doing it and not changing. So today's a really good call as a reminder of that. Cheers, Mark.
No, brilliant, Duncan. Thank you. That's a really great observation. Thank you, Marie. Thank you, Duncan. Thank you, Fred, all for sharing. It's really, really powerful. Emma's just put in the chat box there. I think for me, getting stuck in the rat race, especially working for yourself, you have to work when the work is there. She's been trying to take Fridays off to spend more time with the family for the last 5 years. Come on, Ems, you can do it. It's important, but great shares in the chat box there. Really, really great shares. The gratitude is important, as we said. Take the opportunity, like Marie said as well. Try and please, try not to wait for the big life event. Make a choice now to train yourself and reprogram yourself. It's very, very, very important to get there. You do have an inner voice. That inner voice is the key to this. If you've got an inner voice that's very critical, that might hold you back. You need to work on that. We all need to work on it. Thomas Edison said he hasn't failed. He's just found 10,000 ways that won't work, which is a great one. And those of you that understand the power of suggestion and indeed auto-suggestion, as he talks about in Think and Grow Rich, where he studied 500 millionaires for 25 years, auto-suggestion is what Laura was touching on last week around I am this, I am, mantras and affirmations where you could say things to yourself. No one else has to hear it, by the way. You can do it while you're, stood in front of the mirror. It's not a problem. But telling yourself positive things about yourself will work. It does work. It's worked for me. It'll work for every human being every single time. I'll give you an example. I don't know if you've heard this, but there's a really brilliant story. Thomas Edison, one of the greatest inventors of our time, when he was about 5 years old, his mother was home one day, and Thomas came back with a letter from the school. And he gave the letter to his mother, and his mother opened the letter and read it. And Thomas was saying to her, "What does it say, Mum? What does it say?" She read the letter, and she read it back to Thomas, and she said to him, "Your son is a genius. He needs to go somewhere else. He needs to go to another school where he can be surrounded by other geniuses. We cannot teach him anything else at this school. He is incredible." That's what Mrs. Edison said to her son, Thomas Edison. Many years later, when Mrs. Edison passed away, Thomas Edison went through her stuff as he did and found the letter. And what it actually said was, "Your son is an idiot. He needs to go to a special school where he can be around other people with learning difficulties, etc., etc." Okay. But Mrs. Edison knew the power of suggestion and auto-suggestion. So she told her son he was a genius. And guess what happened? It's a brilliant story. I love it. It's such an important thing for us to have the right people around us to encourage us and indeed have our own voice as well to encourage us. Start with yourself. Discipline yourself to do the things you need to do when you need to do them right now, today. Okay. And the day will come when you're able to do the things you like to do when you like to do them. Okay. I've been through that cycle and I'm here today to say that it really does work. Surround yourself with those positive people, and try that negativity fast. Okay. Avoid all negativity. Start right now. Okay. Switch off the news, the media. If there's negative people around you or anything like that, just learn to accept them, forgive them, be grateful to them. Stay away from toxicity. Do not allow negativity into your life. Try it for 30 days and then tell me in 30 days' time how it's gone. Because I promise you, your emotions will rebalance and you'll be in a much, much better place. Okay. I can now look at the news. I can check on things and current affairs and understand where we are because I need to make decisions at certain times. But I'm not emotionally affected by it because I took a break. I took a break from all negativity. I said, that's enough, no more. Got myself on a positive side of life. And now I'm no longer emotionally affected by these things. Okay. Such an important piece to get correct. Mahatma Gandhi said, I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet. Which is a brilliant comment. Thank you, Emma, for finding that one and bringing that to my attention yesterday. Your mind is your garden, is your gym. It's important. Don't let anyone else, get in there and cause problems. Think and Grow Rich, as I said, at Napoleon Hill, where he studied these 500 millionaires for 25 years. He found common threads in all of them, no matter what they were doing. He found these common threads in every single successful person that he studied for 25 years and put it in one book. You need to be reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He said there's 7 major emotions and 7 major positives and major negatives. And if you are living in any of the major negatives, they are to be avoided at all times. Okay, he grouped them like this because he found this between everybody, okay, that he studied. And if anyone is living with anger or fear or any of those other emotions in there, that's a problem. And you won't succeed to the level you would like to succeed. And it takes, as it has taken, sometimes a major life event like Marie shared or Lewis will share and I've shared, to move away and actually flip across to the other side, to be in a position where you're not in fear or anger or anything else, but actually you're in faith and love and hope and positive emotions. Those are the things to live in. Just imagine if we could all live on the left-hand side and be really happy and grateful for each other. It can happen. It can happen. You have to choose to do it. Stop being afraid of what could go wrong and start being positive about what could go right. Zig Ziglar, brilliant comment from him. Lots of people are afraid of what could go wrong. Let's think about what can go right and let's make something happen together as a group. Because everything starts with what your thoughts and what you're thinking. Do you monitor that? Are your thoughts happening for you or do you? Do you know what I mean? Are you monitoring what you're thinking? Your thoughts ultimately program your feelings. And if you're feeling bad, the message is that your thinking is off track. Quite simple. If you've got bad feelings, it's because the thoughts are taking you off track. And if you can bring yourself back on track with thoughts, mantras, affirmations, I am positive, I am good, I am whatever you want to say, it takes time and effort and energy to reprogram those emotions, but it's possible and you can do it. I promise you, because only you control what you're thinking and what you're feeling. Yeah. Do not allow anyone else to control what you're thinking and what you're feeling. It's easier said than done. However, if you're the master of yourself, it's like a bit of a force field, going back to the force, using the force. It's a bit like a force field where things could just bounce off and you can be like, yeah, no problem, no problem, no problem. I'm not going to internalize that because I'm resilient and I'm in a good place. Tony Robbins said, a great leader in anything sees things as they are, but not worse than they are. And that's where real progress can begin. So see things as they are, but not worse than they are, not catastrophizing. That's where real progress begins. Quit focusing on what needs to be done and start focusing on what's possible. Dream big in that sphere and see it, believe it, and then just build it. It takes time, but you can do it. So we've got some final thoughts to wrap up, and then I'll take off and we can have a last nice chat at the end. 2 of the greatest minds of our time. Emma wrote that, Lewis. All right, just to be clear. But it's funny and I do love it because you are a great mind. You absolutely are a great mind. Lewis Senior's four promises. Lewis, I'm going to put them all on the screen, and would you like to just talk us through them?
Yeah, so a few years ago, 2002, I found myself laying on the floor thinking I was dying, and there was no doubt in my mind. I literally thought I was having a heart attack and dying. And for those of you who've read a book called The Celestine Prophecy, they talk about when you think you're in your last moments, and I don't know, Marie, if this happened to you, but they have what's called a life review where you see everything play out. Your whole life plays out very quickly in front of you. And while I was fighting for breath, I basically made four promises. I promised to spend more time with the family. I promised to start listening more. I promised never to have an argument again. And let me just say, I never argue with my wife. I used to argue on behalf of the company I used to work with for many years. And I promised to find a way to help people. And that's when we started Equilibria. And that's as true today as it was 22 years ago. And, and it's interesting what somebody was saying before about, do you have to have, a life-changing event? Well, for some people, it's almost like you've got to go to those lengths before it becomes a reality. But for others, I think going through what we've been going through with Mark for the last few weeks, I think is a good way for people to get a much better experience and maybe get the same result where you don't have to have something that you feel is coming to a disaster, but actually just taking on some of the advice that we've been hearing about. So I think it's really important. And again, I think one of the things that if you go back up, don't go back to the slide bar, but the thing about having a good look in the mirror once in a while, I think is really important. And sometimes it takes other people to help you look in that mirror. And again, when that, if you're given that privilege of having that kind of feedback, I think it goes a long way.
Thank you, Lewis. And the number three there, I promise I'm never going to have an argument again. As a yellow red, there might have been time, or yellow red tendencies. There might have been times where you were triggered a little bit to go into arguments. How did you use your pause button or how did you work with that?
Well, one of the things is if you think about one time I was standing in a session in Australia. And I always put this out because it's again in this business of reinforcing in your own mind, you're not going to have an argument. And I wanted to hold myself to it. So I used to start my sessions with, here are the four promises I made. And number three is I'll never have an argument. And this great big Australian welder came running to the front and said, that's impossible, shoving his finger in my face and getting really, really aggressive. And the point I wanted to make, Tim, is, only you can decide. And you said it before, if you allow yourself to get frustrated or annoyed or angry or disappointed ever again. And to me, I think that makes a big difference. And the other thing is, I have no desire to prove myself right. You and I talked about that, I think, a lot last week. There are people who may not be in the mood for realizing their potential in the moment that we would like them to. And so, that could cause an argument for other people. For me, it's just a question of, hey, if it's not your time, it's not your time.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Mark, I just want to say one more thing.
Sure.
I opened my Facebook this morning to find out that a guy called Dale Hay had passed away last night. He was one of the best leaders that we had in Transocean for many, many years. And literally, as I was trying to put my message onto his son, who I've known for many years, the messages were just more and more and more and more people writing about what an amazing human being this guy was and what he'd done for other people. And to me, I think at the end of the day, it was a good reminder, that these days, within the moments of somebody passing away, it's on social media. And really, you would not want to wait until you won't see it because you won't be there. But what other people are saying on social media is instantaneous. So it's a good lesson this morning, actually.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's appreciate people right now. Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure. Thank you, Lewis. From one great minds, we'll move on to another in a moment. But just before I do that, you spoke about the dash in between on Karen and Nula's recent podcast. So we put this up because we're born, mine would say 1970 to the dash and then whatever year I get to. But it's that dash in between there that's the important piece. And it's the value we add and the progress we make and the promises that you made to help other people. I see Martin in the chat box there in Dubai saying about trying to keep people safe and guide them, making tomorrow safer than it was today. Great motto from Martin. Yeah, I mean, look, that dash in between, Lewis, is the key, right? It's the important piece that we need to focus on well before we get to our rocking chair and beyond. So yeah, I think that was a great point. From one great mind to another, we'll go to Ted Lasso next. And yeah, we need to believe. We need to believe in ourselves, in each other, to create a really great team. 13 leadership lessons from Ted Lasso. If you haven't seen Ted Lasso, it's on Apple TV. I've even got my little Ted Lasso book here, The Lasso Way. And look, ultimately, there's some great lessons in there. Alongside it being a great show, there's some great lessons, and it's filmed in Richmond, just down the road here as well, which is great. Yeah, Emily loves Ted. Absolutely, we all love Ted, Emily. Look, be sincere, stay teachable. Nobody knows everything. Stay open-minded. Learn and support and grow and help each other. See the good in people, even if they're being difficult, even if they're, even potentially toxic, or there's problems, or, my thing is everyone's doing the best they can with the knowledge they have. So see the good in others wherever you can. If they're not right to be around you, that's also fine. Or if you're in the wrong job or the wrong place, that's also fine. But see the good in other people. Choose to be happy. Remember that misery is an option. Yeah. So choose to be happy. Willing is very much an attitude. And attitude is your thoughts, your feelings, your actions all aligned, as I said earlier. Have that confidence in yourself. Easy to say, needs to be built for sure. Optimists will move forward, so you can work on being more optimistic at times, because we all differ from each other, from our personality and our character and everything we talk about in e-colors. Having courage is the willingness to attempt, to go for something, to see if you can make something happen. And vulnerability is a strength. Many people back in the day would say vulnerability, mental health and that kind of stuff, it's a weakness, it's a problem. In fact, you heard Marie say that, her boss of hers said, I couldn't trust someone who's been to a funny farm. I mean, I'm so sorry that was ever said to you, Marie. Mental health is just as important as any kind of physical health, and vulnerability is a strength. To know your strengths, to know your potential limiters, and then work with them, is something that is a really powerful tool to have at our disposal. Doing the right thing is never the wrong thing. I love number 12. Be curious, not judgmental. Don't be judging. Who are we to judge anybody? Let's be curious. Let's ask questions. And 13 is just one of my absolute favorites. Be a goldfish, the happiest animal on the planet. It has a 10-second memory. See if you can foster that 10-second memory. Let it go. It's gone. Let's deal with the next moment and the next moment, and you will get what you need. Positive mental attitude isn't something you achieve at once and hold on to ever. It requires work, resilience, improved well-being is what it leads to. And that long-term success that you really deserve is very important. Become self-aware. Practice the gratitude, the forgiveness, the acceptance. Surround yourself with the positivity. Start with yourself, and it will move you towards your long-term success. If you would like to become an e-colors practitioner, we'd love to hear from you. Please do give me a shout. We can have a chat about that. Myself and David are here to help you with that. Because we believe it's a tool for life and opens the door to these conversations that we can get where we want to get to. So I would like to do a quick debrief. I'd like to go around the room and just ask everyone what went well and what have we learned about ourselves and others. So we'll come around. What went well is our question of today, and any positive outputs. Being intentional, the intentional leadership with your thoughts, your words, your actions, and then your habits ultimately leads to your character and your legacy being a positive one. So we'd love you to join us in the Equilibria Worldwide group. Connect with us all on LinkedIn, etc. It's very important that we all stay together and share our positive energy. I'd like to say thank you. I will take off the share. I know we've overrun slightly, but I would love to hear from anyone who wants to share either in the chat box or feel free to speak. What's gone well? And I want to say what's gone well in the last 6 weeks, right? Because we're 6 weeks in. We're going to do another 7 weeks leading into the new year as well, and then we'll move again. Anyone like to share anything that they've had or positive experience? I feel like picking on Paul Davis for some reason. Paul, where are you? Are you in
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I'm in Dubai.
Are you in Dubai or Thailand?
Dubai, back in Dubai now. I'm just in a coffee shop at the moment. It's overrunning on the previous meeting. Yeah, I think looking back on I think I missed one of the sessions which I watched back the other day, which actually stuck with me for a little while. Because it's about the vision and purpose, and I've been thinking a lot on that recently. And that's really helped. So I think what's gone really well is kind of just the way that you presented it, and you know, it's kind of, it's relatable, and I think having the good chat and people giving their examples and their sort of experiences in different areas really help to kind of bring things to light, rather than it just sort of being something that's not tangible. It's kind of like, oh yeah, that actually makes sense, and people are showing and you're giving examples of where that's actually happened. So, you know, it's proofs in the pudding, so to speak. So I think that's what's gone really well. And just really enjoyed it. I've got so much out of each of the sessions. My notes are vast, and I've definitely got all the YouTubes on playback. So yeah, no, just really grateful and appreciative to you and everyone else really for sharing and just providing this this sort of network. It's great.
It's a pleasure, and I mean, I can see you making progress in your own journey with your LinkedIn videos and stuff like that. So well done.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, and yeah, thanks for the kick up the backside with that one as well. It's and you're not the only person that's giving me a kick up the arse either with it. And I think I've been kicking myself up the backside recently as well, which is good, and I need it. And I just had a meeting with someone just now, and really positive, and I spiraled a bit out of control a couple of weekends ago. My wife's been away and stuff like that, and I just let a few negative thoughts take over. So I've been bouncing back from that. But gym, running, walking, lots of positive affirmations, and again, mantras that I say to myself that I'd stopped for a little while, sort of brought that back again. So it's all going in the right direction. So yeah, in a good place.
Good man, Paul. Good for you, mate. Lovely to hear, and thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Angela, would you like to say something?
Yeah, what I've learned today is that you can't force people to change, I think, with that PMA. So we've been having a bit of a debate, me and my husband, about the morning news. And if you listen to Zoe Ball on the radio, it's all fluffy bunnies and really, really great stuff. And then you put the BBC on, and they have that slant of negativity. So I'm going to lead by example rather than nagging, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it does. You know, there's no point in just talking about it. Just show. You know, just lead the way by showing people the way, and the results will come for sure.
But PMA, this whole wonderful world, I resonate with Marie and yourself. It came from a point of, you know, being at my worst, really.
That's right.
Life event, so illness. So yeah, it's proof that it works.
Absolutely, absolutely, and thank you for sharing. And I think it's great for people that are going to watch these videos back to take that all on board. So thank you so much for that. I feel that we haven't heard from Angie. Angie, are you willing to unmute and share anything? Are you welcome and hi?
Good morning.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing good, doing good.
Excellent.
I really just, you know, really like the part about, you know, trying to connect what you do for a living sort of with your e-colors. I think that really is important for me to remember. I am very passionate about what I do, and every job I ever take or everything that I do always has to connect with my own values and stuff like that. And I've worked in semi-toxic relationships or not relationships, but organizations that went across that. And I've always felt bad for having to leave, but I never really connected the dots that it was because it was going against my values and my ethics and stuff like that. So it sort of made me feel better, I guess, and thought maybe, you know, it was for a good reason instead of just something was wrong with me that I just didn't want to, you know, work there, or I changed jobs frequently, that kind of thing. So I really liked that part of your presentation, and I'm very appreciative of that.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. It's great to see you all. Thanks all for being here. Thanks to everyone who's going to watch these back as well. Frankie's going to be dying for his walk, so I'm going to need to go. But lovely. Lots of apologies for people dropping off and stuff like that. But great, Martin. I'll see you in about an hour or so. Fantastic. Thanks all so much, Fred, and everyone in the US. Thanks for being up late or indeed up early. It's great to see you all, and onwards and upwards. And I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.
Thanks,
all.
Awesome.
Bye. All the best.
Bye bye.
Bye.